Okay, TK 1636, and I should have what is left of both kits to cut out. And after I cut this out, all I have to do is sand it down and then put them together, paint the two buckets, and then I should be done. So just a little bit of difference. This is the RS right here, Anovos up there. The shoulder straps are separate. They're not separate. The battery pack for the knee doesn't have any ridges, it's flat. The Anovos does. The thermodet, excuse me, hold up. I think the thermodet for the Anovos is already done. I have to look a little bit closer, but that's just something real easy. These pieces are all together, the ab buttons and then the belt buttons are all together. The Anovos one, they're in two separate pieces, plus the belt is done, so the drop box is already on it, and so are the little buttons, and so is the belt. But this belt, I'm going to drill out all of these right here, and then I will put on the better belt. And then also the holster, it's got 4, and we're not gonna use this one. It's 2. Maybe you could use some leather conditioner, but it's way too thick for what we like. So this one's going to an actual another member, and he's gonna get a lot better one that doesn't have these 2 holes. Plus these are aluminum, the Chicago screws, and we go with more metal ones. So just slight differences, so we won't use the holster. I'll go ahead and cut these out. On the RS, there is no line. The Anovos, it does have a line. They're both very close, but I'm going to take off quite a bit on both of them. We don't need that much of a return edge. It will be sitting on your wrist, so you don't want it to be popping up too high on your wrist. You want to give it the illusion that it's thick, but you don't want it that thick on your wrist. So there's a little bit of a ridge, so it sits. It doesn't sit real high, it doesn't mess with you. But if you're going screen accurate, you won't even use these. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them out, go ahead and get them ready. If the guy I'm building it for doesn't want to use them, that's fine. A lot of people use the rubber gloves and the latex hand plates. Okay, so the thermodet, half of it, when the RS is done, the bracket's already done, the tube's already done, the screw's already in, so all I got to do is the control panel and then cut down the edge of the ends here, and then just put them on, glue it on, it'll be done. It's probably the easiest part of the whole build will be the thermodet, since it's already done. The Anovos one, got to kind of fix it up just a little bit. It's not quite up to a Centurion. One thing I like better about the RS, compared what they do fully commission, but I like the fact that you can build it yourself. So if you do want to go Centurion with the Anovos, you have to fix the belt and you have to fix the thermodet in order to get Centurion. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it right now, just the edge right here, and then I'm going to measure it later. I want to say it's in between a 1/2 to 3/4 inch. I'll measure it later and actually get the right specs, trim that, and then have that so we can go on. So right now I'm just getting rid of the little edge. Okay, and then the hand plates, the shoulder straps, just going to trim it just a tiny bit, just to get rid of on the ends, get rid of the actual sanding where he ground it, and the plastic is kind of not so smooth. I'm going to come over here, trim off a little bit. When I sand it, I can sand it and trim it to the edge that I want. Right now I'm just getting rid of where they had sanded it. So it makes it a lot cleaner, but again, it's not quite the width that it needs to be, but it's a start. It makes it easier to at least hold it. Plus, when this stuff falls off, the parts that sanded, it makes a mess everywhere. So it's always good just to trim all this stuff off, so it's not quite so messy. Okay, so here with the Anovos one, it's straight on the bottom. It comes up and it curves, and then it's straight right here. So there's already a line here. You can't quite see it. I'm going to go ahead and use a ruler to help me make a straight line. And I don't want to, not really an exact measurement, but we don't want it too big. But I'll go ahead and make it big at first, and then trim it down a little bit smaller. There's actually also a length that's supposed to be, so I'm not going to cut the sides until I look that up on FISD, how long it should be. And then what I normally do is I'll get something round. Like, let's say this is round, and when I go to cut the edge, I'll put it right there, and it'll help me round it out. So it kind of gives me that roundness right here. But I'll use something a little bit bigger than this, and it'll make that edge. I'll show you better when I cut out the Anovos one. There's a little bit of an edge here. I'm just going to trim that off. Same thing with this side, just a tiny bit of an edge. I'm only going to trim it off now, and then when I find out how long it's supposed to be, then I'll trim whatever excess I need to trim off. And then it'll look similar to this once it's done. So it'll have that little bit of an edge. Instead of being pointed, it'll have the roundness. So I'll go ahead and do the same thing with this one. Again, I still have to trim it down to the right length. And once I do that, I'll make another one. But just to show you how I do it, and then I just sand it down with on my grinder. These are done. I'm not going to mess with this. I can make the line, but trim it later. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is just cutting it with a blade. Just clamp down the ruler, cut it with a blade. And I just want to leave a little bit. I don't want to get it right up to where the boxes are. Maybe leave about a ½ inch, and then I can always sand it down a little bit closer if I need to. You know what, I might be able to make it straight. we just want a little bit of a return edge after the box, not a lot. What I mean by the box is this box right here, we want just a tiny bit of a return edge. So I just basically made it flat, and once I get it on the sander, then I'll sand it down. Okay, so I'm going to trim this. There's an edge here too. I'm going to get rid of this. There's also a predetermined length here. I have to look that up. But for now, I'm just going to cut that little bit of that edge off. And then these are also 45. So this is just kind of showing you how it would look. Again, I still need to measure it and actually do it correctly. Which is just 45 edges. So it looks similar to this. Not quite there, but it'll get there. And then I have the 3 holes. Kind of can see them. And I'll have to drill those holes out. So they have indentions in here, and that's what I'm coloring in. I'll mark the holes, I'll drill them, and then I'll sand this down a little bit more, figure out how long it's supposed to be, and then get those a little bit more 45, and that'll be done. You want to cut off enough here so that it can flex around your belly. Same thing with here. You want to cut off enough so it flexes. But this plastic is very flexible anyway, so you don't have to cut off a lot. Alright. Now the drop boxes, they have some return edge, so that's all I'm going to do is just cut off the return edge. Not really a return edge, more of a lip. Just cutting right below that lip. Those two. Get these other two. Alright, so these should fit right inside of each other. Get the right ones, there we go. Once I clean them up, they'll fit. It's a little bit high on this one, so I got to trim a little bit more, but you basically want them to be flush with each other. So I got to trim a little bit more on here too. So basically there's the drop boxes. Come up here, kind of cut the bottom of this nastiness off, just leaving a little bit of a return edge. Now this one, it's got a curve, so I'm basically just going to curve it around on both sides. I'm going to get rid of a little bit of this nastiness. This out. I gotta trim this edge, same thing with the curved area. And then the top. And there you go. That one's done. Now I have this last piece. So it's easier to flip it upside down, use the blade, and I'm going to trim right on the edge. Just 2 times, not real hard. I'll just cut an edge. Cut that one, I can bring it down. Cut another one. And there it is, flat. Obviously, I'm still going to have to trim it more, but this is just the beginning until I can put it on the ab plate. Same thing with the inside. So this edge right here on the outside, you don't want to cut in here. This part right here, you want to cut in the outside. So I'll make a line. See it a little bit better. It's really clean, the line, but this side is not quite so clean. I'm going to come in here, trim it. Do the same thing, cut off 4 corners. So again, it's a little crooked, doesn't matter. I got to trim it down a little bit more anyways. I'll make it straight. We don't want to make these round, we want to keep them nice and flat. Same thing with these, nice and flat all the way. Now, the last piece is the little buttons. They're all round. There's no lines to make them into a block. So the easiest thing to do is cut right in between the middle of them. That one. Cut this one. So right now they're a little big, but once I get them onto the belt, I can actually trim them down to a good size. Again, it's always better to go bigger. Cut your way down. This material is very easy to trim, so shouldn't be a problem at all. See how big it is now? I'm going to trim it down even more, and it'll fit in there a lot better. Okay, now I'm going to cut the Anovos. This is the RS one.